Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. So Valve has finally stepped into the hardware space in a massive way, and this time it's not just one device. They've revealed a brand new Steam machine, a new Steam controller and their Steam Frame VR headset, all introduced as part of Valve's updated hardware ecosystem. Now, the most surprising part of this announcement is the Steam machine itself. Now, if you've been around for long enough, you might remember Valve trying something similar more than a decade ago, but back then they didn't really take off the way they'd hoped. This time round it feels kind of different. This new version is basically a compact gaming PC designed a little bit like a console. Now, the Steam machine is a small cube that plugs straight into your TV, boots into Steam OS and lets you jump right into PC games without needing a big desktop setup. Now, it plays like a console, it behaves like a console, and it sits in your living room like a console, but under the hood it's still a PC. Now, the interesting part though is even though it runs Steam OS out of the box, Valve have confirmed that you can install any operating system that you want. Windows, Linux, whatever. So technically it's a PC, even if it's being sold in a console style package. Now, the specs are where things get a little bit interesting because Valve have partnered with AMD and they've created a semi-custom chip for both the CPU and the GPU, something typically reserved for companies like Sony and Microsoft. Now, we're looking at a Zen 4 CPU with 6 cores and 12 threads with an RDNA 3 GPU with 28 compute units. And that's a lot of power for a small cube, and it even supports 4K 60 FPS. Well, apparently it does, so we'll have to see. You've also got 16 gigabytes of fast DDR5 memory paired with 8 gigabytes of dedicated GDDR6 VRAM. Storage also comes in 2 sizes, 512 gigabytes for the base model or a larger 2 terabyte model. There's also high-speed micro SD slots available if you wanted to expand storage even further. Connectivity is also pretty decent, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, Gigabit Ethernet and plenty of USB ports, and even an RGB LED strip around the box for custom lighting. Now, we don't have pricing yet, that won't be confirmed probably until early 2026. Valve says the device will launch in early 2026, and that's what a lot of people, including myself, are waiting for answers. But it's a question for you guys. Do you think this is good for the console market? Because honestly, I think it is. The more consoles there are in the marketplace, the more competition there is. The more competition means better prices, better hardware, better innovation. And at the end of the day, we, the gamers, win, right? Because it forces companies to behave. You stick your prices up too high, you go to the competitor, right? That's how it generally works in the marketplace. What makes this interesting is that the Steam machine sits in this kind of weird space between PC and console. It's a sort of same space Microsoft has been moving towards with Xbox, especially with rumours about their next generation hybrid system. And let's be honest, even PlayStation has been dipping its toes into the PC market more than ever before. So now we're looking at a future where PlayStation, Xbox and Steam are all offering games across console, handheld and PC. So maybe it's no longer about what device you're playing on, maybe it's about what ecosystem you are staying in. And personally, if the price is right, I am tempted to pick up a Steam machine myself, but I just need to see more from the actual system itself before I make that decision. The other thing I wanted to mention here is that given the size of the Steam machine, I wouldn't be surprised if Google and Amazon follow suit at some point in the future. After all, Amazon already has the Amazon Fire Cube, right? Why couldn't this have the same internal specs similar to the Steam machine? Anyway, I'm digressing, but I've always maintained that the more systems, the more consoles, the more competition there is in the marketplace, the better it is for us gamers. With the way Microsoft has been regressing Xbox from the console gaming space, I wouldn't want it to be only PlayStation as the main console in the living room space. For me, the Steam machine seems like a good thing, good competition in the marketplace. For me personally, I want to see how Sony and Microsoft react to this Steam machine. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys, and let's move on. So Red Dead Redemption, the original classic, is coming back, and this time it's landing on basically every single device you can think of: iOS, Android, PlayStation 5, Xbox and Switch 2. And not only that, Netflix subscribers can also download and play it as part of their membership. This is actually a bigger deal than people realize. For the past year, we've been hearing rumors that Rockstar has been working on some kind of upgrade or remaster to Red Dead Redemption 2. Some insiders claim that the game is already done or very, very close to being done. And the reason why Rockstar hasn't actually announced anything to do with Red Dead Redemption 2 is because they've been waiting for something, and now it's pretty clear what that is. They've been waiting for the Switch 2 to be out in the wild and to hit relatively decent sales numbers so they could launch the entire Red Dead franchise all on modern hardware at the same time. If you take a look at the number of third-party publishers that are now revisiting their older games that came out during the PlayStation 4 era, and what those third-party publishers are doing now, they're releasing those games, or they've got development happening on many of those older games for the Switch 2. Games that were not really possible on the old Switch 1 because of the low specs, they're now being done and reworked for Switch 2. And while some of those games are getting redone, they're also getting enhancements for PlayStation 5, like the confirmed Red Dead Redemption 1 and the rumoured upcoming Red Dead Redemption 2. So starting December the 2nd, players will get Red Dead Redemption and the Undead Nightmare expansion fully updated for modern devices. And we're talking smoother gameplay, better visuals, HDR support, and on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox consoles, finally we're going to get 60 frames per second. On Switch 2, they've added support for DLSS and kept that 60 FPS target as well, which is pretty impressive. And here is what I think a lot of PlayStation players will appreciate. If you already own the PlayStation 4 version of Red Dead Redemption, the upgrade to PlayStation 5 with all the bells and whistles is free. Same for the Xbox players. If you own a last-gen Red Dead Redemption game and you play it on the new system with the update's free. And the question that Rockstar hasn't answered yet, but it's a big one, is if Red Dead Redemption 1 is getting a free upgrade, will Red Dead Redemption 2 get a free upgrade too? I mean, it makes sense, right? Especially since the rumours keep pointing at a near-finished next-gen update. We'll probably know sooner rather than later. Anyway, let's move on. So the GRAC, that's South Korea's Game Rating and Administration Committee, has officially rated 2 titles. Pragmata and Romeo is Dead officially have now been rated. And if you follow the game ratings at all, you'll know this usually means one thing. Launch news is getting pretty close. Both games are high on my radar. Pragmata has been for quite a while, in fact ever since it was first revealed. But Romeo is a Dead Man really surprised me at an earlier PlayStation or Capcom event. I can't remember which one it was, but earlier this year when the game was revealed, I was really bought into that. So very much on my radar. Pragmata first announced all the way back in 2020, just before the PlayStation 5 hit shelves. Capcom pitched it as a brand new sci-fi IP, something different from Resident Evil and Devil May Cry, a fresh start, a fresh universe. Back then it was supposed to release in 2022, and then that didn't happen, and year after year the game kept slipping and it just went silent, to the point where many people thought had Capcom actually shelved the project. But then earlier this year, Pragmata suddenly resurfaced. Capcom dropped a brand new gameplay trailer and alongside it a 2026 release window. And if that wasn't enough to spark hope again, people even got hands-on time with it at Gamescom 2025. And that was the moment people realized, yes, it was actually coming, and it was coming in 2026. Now the GRAC rating tells us a little more. Pragmata has been rated 12 and up, which is interesting for a sci-fi game. According to the description, the story focuses on a human named Hugh and an android named Diana. The two team up, fight off hostile robots and AI, and try to get back to Earth. Nothing too wild, just mild violence, nothing graphic or over the top. And it's something to think about. When ratings show up like this, especially in Korea, they often show up near the final stretch before release. For example, Death Stranding 2 was rated about 4 months before the game launched. The same thing happened with Beyond Good and Evil Anniversary Edition back in 2024. So it does raise a question, are we closer to seeing Pragmata than we originally thought? Now Romeo is a Dead Man from Grasshopper Manufacture and Suda51 leading development. If you know anything about his past games like No More Heroes or Killer 7, you already know his work, and it tends to lean towards mature themes, weird storytelling, and some over-the-top violence. Maybe that's why the game resonates with me so much. Based on the ratings details, Romeo is a Dead Man stays true to that style. The GRAC didn't hold back with its description. They fully locked the game as being an adults-only game. The protagonist, Romeo Stargazer, becomes a space-time FBI agent. He hunts criminals who jump across different eras because of the time paradoxes. Now the rating mentions heavy violence, lots of blood, and pretty graphic scenes. Just sounds like my kind of game. They even listed out some of the profanity used in the game. It's safe to say this one is not a kid-friendly game. But again, the story here isn't just the ratings itself. The timing is what matters. Whenever a Korean rating pops up, it usually means the marketing machine is about to kick into gear. And with these two games being rated on the same day, both big titles, both with years of anticipation behind them, it's hard not to wonder what's coming next. Could both of these games be lined up for the first half of 2026? It's looking very likely, isn't it? And if the announcements are close, the next big stage, which would naturally be the Game Awards, a place where publishers love to reveal release dates and surprise trailers. And for PlayStation fans especially, this could mark a packed year for Capcom alone. I mean, Resident Evil Requiem is already locked in for February 27th, 2026. Onimusha, Where the Sword, is also expected later the same year. And now we've got Pragmata and Romeo is a Dead Man, both getting rated for releases what seems to be maybe early 2026. So Capcom might be setting up for one of their busiest ever release years. Alright, so let's move on to our next piece. Let's keep this flowing. At the time of recording this video, rumor has it, and it's coming from a very reliable source, that Sony is about to cut the price of all PlayStation 5 models in Europe and also the PlayStation VR 2 by at least €100 or so for Black Friday. And if you follow Deal Labs or Bill Gunn, you'll know that they have an extremely accurate track record of discounts. They've leaked PlayStation Plus games, hardware discounts, bundles as well in the past, and they're almost always right. According to the report, the PlayStation 5 Standard Edition drops from €549 to €499. The PlayStation 5 Digital goes from €499 to €349. That's an incredible €150 saving on the PlayStation 5 Digital. And what incredible value that really is. The PlayStation 5 Pro also sees a reduction from €799 to €699. There's also a new Fortnite bundle coming with extra cosmetics and V-Bucks. Now, while these are rumored prices for mainland Europe, we don't have details for the UK or the US. But usually when Sony discounts hardware in one major region, other regions follow shortly. Personally, I'm keeping an eye out on just two things, and that's the PS VR 2 and the PlayStation Portal. If those drop in price, a lot of people might finally jump in, including me. Well, actually, I'm jumping in anyway, but a price drop would be nice though. Anyway, let's move on. Say what you want about Sony, but when it comes to marketing, they don't hold back. Their latest worldwide campaign, it happens on PlayStation 5. Is rolling out right now, and Sony has been setting up massive eye-catching installation across the world. One of these standout displays is in Seoul Station in South Korea. It's this huge setup featuring Astrobot's glider emerging from a rocky surface, lit with bright blue lighting that immediately screams PlayStation. There's even a small Easter egg tucked into the rocks, an Astro-inspired version of Eve from Stellar Blade, a nice little nod since the game's developer is based in Seoul. But that's not the only installation. In the UK, Sony put up these creative 3D billboards, one featuring a parachuter who's crashed into the ad, another hiding a dragon inside the display. The message behind all this is simple. PlayStation is where you experience things you cannot experience anywhere else. What's interesting is that Sony used to run different marketing campaigns in each region, but now everything is synced under one global strategy, giving them the ability to run massive worldwide campaigns like this. Anyway, it's nice to see these weird and wonderful ad campaigns. It does remind me a little bit of the PlayStation 2 era when Sony used to launch these weird campaigns. Let's move on. Now, this one caused some real frustration with some people in the PlayStation community. NC Soft has officially announced Horizon Steel Frontiers, a new MMO set in the Horizon universe. But here's the twist. It's launching on PC and mobile first. No PlayStation 5 version at launch, and no confirmation that one is even planned. Now, the game takes place in an area inspired by Arizona and New Mexico. You'll create your own character, explore a giant open region called the Deadlands, and team up or compete with thousands of other players as you hunt machines and fight for resources. Now, Guerrilla Games, the original creators of Horizon, are overseeing this project, but NC Soft is leading development. Guerrilla's director even said they've been playtesting it internally and that the game feels unique but still true to the Horizon world. But here's where things really blew up, across social media that is. Some PlayStation fans feel like Sony is pushing its biggest franchises away from PlayStation 5, especially after Ratchet & Clank's mobile game reveal earlier this week. Some fans basically said, a new PlayStation game but not on PlayStation, what's going on? Now here's the thing, I wouldn't be surprised if the MMO eventually comes to PlayStation 5, But for now, Sony seems heavily focused on mobile. And remember, Guerrilla themselves confirmed that they're also working on a full multiplayer Horizon game and Horizon 3, which may end up being a PlayStation 6 launch title. So the mainline series is not going anywhere. And what PlayStation and Sony are really trying to do is expand the reach of the IP across PC and mobile. So moving on to another sales success story. This time it's Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This has quietly become a huge success. Warhorse Studios revealed the game has sold 4 million copies since February 2025. Now what's funny or maybe frustrating is how some people online celebrate these sales, but then immediately turn around and claim that Ghost of Yotei flopped with 3.3 million sales in 1 month on just a single platform. Remember, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 released on all platforms and Yotei released on one. Just bear that in mind. You know, those that celebrate the success of one and I suppose frown upon the success of the other. It's strange. Anyway, hitting 4 million units is pretty impressive. The game reached 2 million sales by May and then doubled that in just a few more months. And the first Kingdom Come Deliverance game, that one sold over 10 million copies since 2018. The sequel continues the story of Henry of Skalitz in 1403 Bohemia, a land torn apart by civil war. The game blends real history with a fictional storyline, giving players a grounded look at medieval life. So great news on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 sales figures. These types of things should be celebrated and we shouldn't be looking for reasons to dump on the game's sales performance. Great job. Anyway, moving on to a game I'm really looking forward to. Rebel Wolves has dropped a big new gameplay demo for the Blood of Dawnwalker, and this one really shows how much the game has improved. This is a dark fantasy RPG with clear influences from games like The Witcher. Of course, many of the developers are ex-CD Projekt Red developers, so naturally they're going to lean into what they know. The new footage shows exploration, detective-style investigation, combat and dialogue scenes. But the biggest takeaway is that it's looking a lot more polished. The camera has been adjusted, the UI is cleaner, and the lighting and character models look much better across the world. It's still aiming for a 2026 release on PlayStation 5, and honestly, it's looking like it's going to be one of the more promising RPGs on the horizon. So let's move on. Neowiz is expanding in massive ways. After the success of Lies of P, they revealed that they have 5 internal projects in development. They've got a Lies of P sequel, a life simulation game, a survival action adventure, 2 new titles from Seungjin and Kei Lee, plus they're publishing 2 external projects, a retro sci-fi first-person RPG by Wolfie Studios, and the debut game from Zakazane Studios in Poland. So that's 7 projects in total, 5 of them that they're working on and 2 in collaboration with 2 of the studios. The expansion is a direct result of the success of Lies of P, which has helped put Korean game development on the global spotlight, just like Stellar Blade did earlier this year. It's going to be interesting to see how Lies of P sequel evolves, especially given how the first game ended. And finally, ending with some interesting news, should we say. Things are getting serious at Rockstar North. More than 200 employees have now signed a letter accusing management of firing 31 workers in a deliberate attempt to stop unionization. Rockstar claims the employees were fired for leaking information, but anonymous employees and a detailed report from People Make Games say that the real reason was to halt the growing union movement inside Rockstar. Every single one of the 31 fired employees was part of the union effort, and they were close to reaching the membership numbers needed for official recognition. Now, the union involved with this is the IWGB. They filed a legal claim against Rockstar and says that the company has refused to meet with their representatives. One of the fired employees said, "During a period where Rockstar wants us to feel scared, my former colleagues are standing up and demanding our voices be heard." It's a messy situation for Rockstar, and it could have major long-term implications, not just for Rockstar, but the wider gaming industry, especially as more game studios push for unionization. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video today. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and as always, I will catch you on the next video.